Welcome into Deep Waters on ProBox TV, where we do a deep dive into all things boxing. But, let's take a little travel in a time machine back to May 14th, 1989. That's right. That's where you have the protest in Tiananmen Square. Rob Gronkowski is born in New York, and the boxing world revolves around a young, undefeated heavyweight named Iron Mike Tyson. Fast forward to 2024, not young. He's not undefeated, but the boxing world still revolves around him. Jimmy Smith alongside Paulie, Malignaggi, Chris Algieri. We saw the press conference. We're still talking about Mike Tyson in 2024. Chris, I got to start with you because what we saw was Grandpa Mike Tyson kind of goofing around. This wasn't the guy who scared the hell out of you in 1989, 1990. That guy wasn't there. Did it highlight to you the negative of this fight?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You put it well. The grandpa version of Mike Tyson. I can't get that vision of him smiling and fake punching Jake in the stomach as at the face-off. Face-offs used to be where Mike Tyson needed a line of security guards between him and his opponent because there was a chance that he could bite them, fight them, punch them, kick them, throw something at them. This is just a different guy, and I know they're pushing this as a fight. It's going to be a fight. There's a betting line now. This is a bad start to the promotion from Mike Tyson's point of view.
Paulie, does this highlight the negative in terms of, as Chris said, we're all wondering, will this be an actual competition or will these guys be sleepwalking through this, cashing the check and just kind of going through the motions? That's the fear as a consumer. Is that valid?
Yeah, I mean, that was, I think, the fear before when it was an exhibition, and that's why I think the Texas Commission turned into a real fight on their records. A piece of me wants to feel like Mike can't take Jake seriously because Mike has been in against such world-class opposition in his life that he's like, it's like this guy's like whatever, I don't need to put on my game face here and put
he's doing the Great White Hope movie.
Yeah, become the intimidator here because it doesn't exactly completely. I remember we talked about this where when they signed this, I could see the whole Great White Hope angle, Great White Hype angle going here with that movie. I'll tell you, a piece of me feels like he says he has a hard time taking him seriously, where it's like, whatever. But then the other piece of me is worried about what you're saying. Like, man, is this going to be really something that, could be not taken so seriously from both guys? Jake knows how to sell it. He gets up there, he knows how to sell the brand, the image, all that other stuff. That's Jake. Of course, he's been successful with this in this generation. Mike didn't fight in the social media generation, so I don't know. For him, it's either.
Although he would have been good at it.
He would have been good at it. But here's the thing: Mike wasn't a guy who sold you something. It was him. Yeah. Whatever Mike said, he wasn't selling it. It was him. He was real to the core. So I feel like being positive, glass half full, guys. Sometimes I am optimistic as much as you guys.
We never see it, but it does happen sometimes.
Yeah, every once in a while. So I'm thinking he's having a hard time just taking Jake seriously. He's been in with Holyfield. He's been in with, Lennox Lewis. He's been in with, the top, Michael Spinks.
Larry Holmes.
The upper echelon of multiple generations. I'm thinking he's probably thinking, I'm going to need to intimidate this guy.
Guys,
whatever.
Am I the only one, though, who noticed that Jake's bigger than Mike? So if you're not taking this guy seriously now, you got in front of him. I mean,
yeah.
Jake looks
but then again, Mike,
big and he's 30 years younger.
Mike did beat a lot of bigger guys. So, I don't know.
He was a small heavyweight. People tend to forget that. He was a small heavyweight. But let's turn to Turki Al-Sheikh. His Excellency on Twitter said, "Please, Brother Mike, forget the script and beat this guy." Tyson answered back with an Instagram post essentially saying the fight is real, he's going to knock Paul out, all of that together. This idea of having to convince us that a fight is going to happen. Chris, you said it. Mike didn't sell fights. In a sense, listen to me, he sold violence, though. We all get that palpable violence whenever Mike was around.
It sold itself.
Exactly.
Mike was the event. It sold itself.
Mike is the attraction.
Yeah, exactly.
This is different. So I thought that, man, I'm watching this promotion. I'm watching it. Listen, I want everything that's good for boxing to be good for boxing. And you want something to be competitive, whatever. What they should have done with this with Mike, don't have him say anything. Have him stand there and look menacing. He still looks menacing.
Because it would be the tinge of the old Tyson.
Sit there and be like, man, I'm gonna knock this white boy out. Just wait till we get there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Instead, you got this scenario, like I said, we got this, belly touching thing, smiles. It's just not. It wasn't a good look. And then now you have the blowback from that. Turki Al-Sheikh saying this, Mike saying it's a real fight. That doesn't look good either. It doesn't look either that they have to convince the viewing public. No, this is a real fight. Trust us.
I mean, and I'm one of the ones that actually doesn't think Mike could win a real fight, mind you. I mean, I think he's too old. 58 is 58. Jake, even if he's not going to be on the level Mike Tyson was in his prime, is still in his mid to late 20s, physically in his prime, and has been boxing long enough to know at least a little bit of what he's doing that can really be a detriment to a 58-year-old guy who used to know what he was doing very well. 58 is 58. You got to take the shots. You got to be able to, set your feet in position to land the shot on a bigger guy like Jake without taking the damage yourself. I'm one of the guys that feels like, Mike is at risk here if this is a real deal thing, which it seems like that's what they're selling, even if, it's hard to take it seriously when you see that kind of promotion. So, I just feel like Turki Alashik is one of those guys from that generation where Mike is invincible no matter, even if he's 100. Yeah. I don't buy it.
You made me think of something, champ. So I remember when my first trainer, he was a kickboxer, he was doing a late comeback, like late in his 30s. He's like, oh, my sons never got to see me fight, so I want to fight for them. I want them to see it. And I remember him telling me that his ability to deal with the nerves completely changed. So he used to do it, the stare downs, he would do eye to eye. And then when he came back, he always looked down. I always asked him about that. He's like, I can't do the eye to eye anymore. So I'm wondering, even if that's part of it too, that the anxiety now, I got to do a face-off with this young, strong man. I just make a joke out of it. He's getting that feeling where he used to get ravenous. Now he's like,
I'm gonna give you another angle. I'm gonna give you another angle. He's hard for him to take it so seriously, but he's got gratitude for this big payday that just fell in his lap. So he's like, I can't hate this guy. I got tossed this huge payday for this event we're doing here. I can't hate this guy. Let me tickle him a little bit.
Gentlemen, for some context, some of the times we've seen fighters be totally past it. Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, he's 38 years old. When we saw Oscar De La Hoya take on Julio Cesar Chavez, he was, 34, 35? We're talking 30 years beyond that. That's what we're talking about. But it's not just about the main event. It's also about the other fights on there that have relevance. We'll break them down when we come back to Deep Waters.
Wednesday Night Fights. On the next Wednesday Night Fights, May 22nd. Batajan Jukambayev faces Ivan El Terrible Redkach. Wednesday Night Fights.
Welcome back to Deep Waters. Last Wednesday had an amazing main event. Please check it out on ProBox TV. Absolutely incredible. We're looking forward to another one, May 22nd. Welcome back. We're talking about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Not that fight necessarily. That's the main event. We also have, of course, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, their rematch of a very competitive, very close fight that I think was the highlight of that particular card. Might do the same thing again. Gentlemen, your thoughts on this? Paulie, I'll start with you. Being really the focus of us real boxing fans on the card, what are your thoughts on it?
Taylor Serrano is, on paper, a good fight. The first fight was, probably the most anticipated women's fight that's ever happened. It was a terrific fight, competitive, controversial decision about who really won that fight, all this other stuff. At this point, you're wondering if you're just selling the names because they've become such iconic figures in female boxing, or if this is still a good fight. They've had a lot of, specifically Taylor's had a lot of tough fights, and it has a lot of wear and tear on her. So you're wondering, are you just looking to put on an attraction type of fight on this undercard because you want the boxing purists to also buy into it? Because the boxing purists are probably not really going to buy into Paul and Tyson, Right. So, but you need to fill up the undercard with some purist-friendly fights, and I think that's what Serrano and Taylor come in. It's a fight that even the boxing purists can at least respect. We don't know if this is going to be one of those fights where they're past it, but remember, in the past, we've had fights where fighters were past it, put on very entertaining performances. Think about Thriller and Manila type of fights. So guys, sometimes you've been at your best and you decrease just a little bit to make the fights exciting. We'll see.
I have a question for you, Chris. It just occurred to me. When you look at, as Paulie says, the legitimacy of this, is this an excuse for some purists to buy the card? Is this one of those, okay, oh yeah, I'll watch that.
Because you're always a little curious about Tyson anyway.
We're all a little curious, but this idea that might be the way to let those purists in to buy it. What's your thought?
Well, listen, you cannot knock Jake Paul's mastery of marketing. And I think he's always put Serrano on his cards for that reason. Yeah. She's an attraction. She's a draw. Purists, real boxing people, real boxing heads will tune in to watch Amanda Serrano because she's extremely exciting. She's one of the most, she's the most accomplished female in the world today. Probably Taylor's probably number 2. Right. And the fighting goes in. That first fight, I was at the fight at the Garden. It was phenomenal. It was back and forth. The crowd was absolutely insane. Awesome fight. Fought at a very high level. To your point, champ, they probably left a bit of each of themselves in the ring that night. And, after that, Taylor lost to Cameron. then came back and won it, obviously. And Serrano has been going the distance in all our fights. So like they're probably both gone down a little bit since that last fight, but they're fighting each other. Like to your point, you know, they're both a little degraded, but they're fighting each other. What the issue I have now, this is at 140, because obviously, and I didn't think about that until the press conference. They were talking about that. This is at Katie Taylor's weight class. Obviously, she won the title from Cameron, so now it's going to be fought at 140. Serrano's fought as low as 22 and been a world champion, and not too long ago. So she's going up yet another weight class to go fight Katie Taylor. And Katie Taylor, I believe, has more momentum. She just beat Chantel Cameron. And Serrano's coming off that debacle down in Puerto Rico where she wasn't even able to fight because of the eye injury. So there's definitely momentum on her side. But Serrano's got that punch, man. She will always have that punch. So it still makes it a very viable, entertaining fight.
And also, Serrano's an example of exactly the positives that Jake has brought to the table here. Serrano would be one of the uncovered gems in boxing. Like in the New York area, we've always known Serrano can fight. We've always known about
the hardcores have always known it.
Well, especially the New York hardcores, because she's on our circle, you know. So we've always known this girl can fight. She's bad.
Really
but the problem is nobody was getting to know her. She wasn't getting her shots and so on and so forth. Because of the connection with Jake, she was able to now show this immense talent she has on a larger and broader scale, and it's made her appreciated to the worldwide boxing fans, and that's why we had that terrific fight between Serrano and Taylor. If Jake doesn't manage or promote, I don't know which one it is, doesn't have the association with Serrano, I don't know that Serrano's name itself becomes big enough to get a Taylor fight and have such a terrific female fight.
Definitely wouldn't have made as much money.
And honestly, if you're not, here's what happens in boxing. If you're too good, but you're not famous enough, nobody takes a chance on you because you're too much risk, no reward. So she became rewarding because of the association with Jake, so that people actually paid attention to this girl and say, wow, this girl can fight. I see. And now she's become a household name in boxing because of that. So one of the positives that you think about when you think about Jake, because there's a lot, I feel like also in terms of boxing purists, there's a lot of negativity about Jake. But that is one example where he takes care of his people, and including people in boxing.
When we come back, it's a sport surrounded by hype. It's all about promotion. What will this do for other high-level boxing matches coming up, including this unification fight? We'll talk about it when we come back.
Wednesday Night Fights. On the next Wednesday Night Fights, May 22nd, Paulie Jukambayev faces Ivan El Terrible Redkach. Wednesday Night Fights.
Competitive fights, that's what we bring you here at ProBox TV every other Wednesday. Our next one, May 22nd. Speaking of competitive fights, that's what we're hoping for. Usyk versus Fury, the promotion leading up to it. We've been talking about Tyson. We've been talking about, of course, Jake Paul, but the promotion leading up to this undisputed heavyweight fight has gone a little bit off the rails. Headbutts in the back, a little bit of pushing and shoving. Of course, we had a fireworks display actually injure the eye, it looked like, slightly of Usyk during his walk into the press conference. You see behind me the headbutt, of course, Fury's dad headbutting a member of Usyk's team. How much is too much even in boxing? Is the fight itself getting a little overshadowed by the antics that are going on behind the scenes? Paulie, what are your thoughts on it?
No, man, because you see what we saw with Mike Tyson, too much playing around. We need to balance it out. So the extreme combat side is in this very, very real fight between Fury and Usyk, especially with all the marbles, literally the heavyweight championship of the world in the undisputed form of it. So you're gonna have tension, you're gonna have competition. Yeah, I mean, okay. It's funny. It's funny because a lot of the old school purists will say, well, boxers in the old days used to have respect. Did they, though? I mean, there's footage of Joe Frazier and Ali tackling each other on that talk show one time. You know what I mean? They wound up wrestling all over the place, too. That was like 50 years ago, man. So combat is combat, I personally don't mind it. Here's what I always compare it to. People know professional wrestling, WWE, is staged, okay? And yet the bad blood is scripted so well that people get into it and say, wow, I want to see who's going to win this fight. You know it's scripted. And you still like, wow, I can't wait to see that. That's why WWE is so popular.
WWE scripted?
No, yeah.
I hate to break all of your heart. It is.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like, so, well, scripted.
Predetermined, yes.
Listen, those guys are super athletes.
Super athletes,
that's why I don't call it fake, because when I understand
no,
what
it's
they
definitely
mean.
not fake.
I understand what they mean when they say it's not fake.
I was there when they went through my table, gentlemen. I understand completely.
Somersaults off the ladder and stuff.
You know better than anybody.
It's definitely not fake, but it's scripted and choreographed. Right. Nonetheless, the bad blood is written so well, you still want to watch the fight. So imagine boxing having this kind of bad blood, this kind of not scripted, but genuine bad blood, right? If you can sell it that way, people are going to want to watch the fight. I feel like more fights should have this because people don't want to watch two guys tickling each other and then they're going to fight on fight night. Be like, I can't wait to watch that fight. No, but when the guys are slapping each other and doing all that, yeah, okay, it's extreme. But you know what? You sell it. You sell the bad blood. I'll go back to me and Broner. As much as it's not a highlight of my career, you know what? That whole fiasco sold the heck out of that fight. I mean, it was the most watched event on Showtime Championship Boxing in 2013. People want to watch that bad blood, animosity, soap opera type of stuff. I think we're getting that this week in the Middle East for the heavyweight championship of the world. I personally don't mind it, and like I said, it's not that old school guys were different, because I just gave you the Ali Frazier tackle on that talk show.
Now, Chris, the other side of this is the boxing heads, guys like you sitting at this table here with me. No, this might be a tactical chess match. These are guys that are very, very technical, very tactical. Is this bad blood just the thing to get maybe more action out of a fight that could be very tactical? What's your thought on it?
No, I don't think so. I think these guys are consummate professionals, and they have their game plans. And listen, it's going to be a fight no matter what. I've been going back and watching Tyson Fury when he fought Otto Wallin with that big, nasty cut. He just marauded Otto Wallin because he was just like, I can't box this guy. I can't see. I'm just going to fight him. I kind of see like this fight kind of being like that as well. I think Tyson's going to have to take it to the street and just get rough with Usyk. And Usyk does not want to lose. So he's going to do whatever he can, whatever he needs to do in order to secure victory himself. So no, I don't think so. I don't think this is necessary, but I agree with you, Champ. This is great. Did you hear Tyson come in? Dad, what happened to your forehead? Yeah, it's like another day for John. This is another weekend where Dad went out and got into a fight.
He grew up with his father.
Nah, it's not a big deal.
That doesn't even faze him.
And
in traveler country, this is normal.
Well, yeah, he said we're fight people. You get in my face, you're going to get headbutted. It is what it is. Like, this is nothing new for these people, and I don't think it's staged. I don't think it's necessary for the marketing, but definitely helps. I mean, it's not a ploy. This is the way these guys are, and it's a fight. Why not?
We talk about how Tyson and Jake Paul is more for the casuals, and you got to do something for the purists to draw them in, right? Like a Serrano Taylor. This is the opposite. Yeah. The purists are already engaged for this fight because they know how beautiful it is and how terrific it is these two are fighting. But in order to get the casuals in, you need to throw in a couple of headbutts and a couple of other stuff because the casuals, that's what attracts them.
That's a great point, but I don't think this was planned by any means. That's just John being John.
Not. We've been missing out in the U.S. They won't let them at the border, you know? Like, we've been missing out, all those Fury promotions without John Fury here in the U.S. Because, imagine we would have had him over here. We would have got some of this fiascos over here, too.
Champ, you mentioned the guys in the past who are classy. I think of some really classy fighters. I think of, Marco Antonio Barrera.
Some guys were, just like today.
This is my point. Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales. They're throwing front kicks at each other in the press conference. Come on, classy. We're still fighters,
and I can't even say what was repeated, what started that fiasco, because it's not TV child
but
friendly.
We know about Roberto Duran, of course, going after Sugar and talking about his wife.
Yeah.
Like, we act like this is new or this is part of the social media age.
Fighters
Gentlemen, it wasn't on social media, but they went after one another in very, very personal ways.
Yeah.
And that hasn't changed.
I mean, at least starting in the 70s. Maybe now if we go back to the 60s, I've struggled, but 70s we had Ali Frazier. 80s we had Duran, Leonard, and the Tyson mystique started. Right. 90s we had a lot of the Tyson mystique, that was all over the place. And then so on and so forth. We started getting closer to Ricardo Mayorga in the early 2000s.
Mayorga, yeah.
We've got all of it. So it's become part of combat, mythology, so to speak.
I think Bo, he was another one before fights.
Bo punched Herbie Hyde and threw a glass at Hoy Luis Gonzalez. You got
calling
that
Lennox
too.
Lewis the trash digger when he threw the belt away. Like, it wasn't like class was something that was necessary to be a heavyweight champion. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is all about the X's and O's. What do we expect from a unification fight this weekend? Usyk versus Fury when we come back. Welcome back to Deep Waters, where we are discussing all things boxing, a heavyweight unification fight this weekend. Usyk versus Fury. Beyond the hype, beyond the headbutts, beyond the blood, the X's and O's of this fight. Gentlemen, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri. Paulie, what are you expecting from this fight tactically from these guys? Big size differential. Both guys excellent boxers, but stylistically very, very different. How do you think they gel?
Yeah, that's the thing. Once you're in the ring, you're going to have to gel boxing-wise. All the selling aspect of it is great. Again, fighters from yesteryear, another one we were just talking about before we went off the air, we got back on the air. Larry Holmes' flying drop kick off the top of the limousine, hitting Trevor Berbick.
Yep.
40 years ago, guys. So the fighters of yesteryear, they had it too, I think, like the champ said, I think it's going to devolve, is that the word I'm looking
Sure.
for? A little bit into a brawl, because Fury's going to try to push the brawl. I think if it's too technical, while Fury is a good technical boxer, Usyk is a master technical boxer. So I think Fury is going to have to use the advantages he has, which is a little bit of physicality as well, sort of like he did in the second Wilder fight, like he did with Wallin, who was the another southpaw. I think I could see Fury trying some of that as well, while Usyk, you know, he'll engage, but he's going to try to keep it technical as he can.
Chris, as the MMA representative here, when he fought Francis Ngannou, none of us thought Ngannou had a shot in that. Maybe he's hits hard enough to knock him down. Maybe that did happen, but the way that he boxed for 10 rounds surprised a lot of people. A lot of people talking about Fury now. He's thinned out. He's a lot leaner. That he might be taking this fight more seriously. Do you think that's on his mind?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and we said this about Fury. When he's backed into a corner, he's most dangerous. Yeah. And he certainly feels that way. I think on the back end of that Ngannou performance, he knew he needed to be in tip-top shape. I think he has a lot of respect for Usyk and Team Usyk as well, because he's got an undefeated guy in front of him who's a fantastic fighter who very well could win this fight. So, I mean, he does look really thin. It makes me a little nervous that he's too thin, because I think physicality is going to be a big part of this fight, like the champ said. I think Usyk has had trouble with guys who are really physical. Daniel Dubois, who's a very strong heavyweight, he showed that his physicality could be an issue. Derek Chisora.
His first heavyweight fight, right?
Derek Chisora gave him a lot of trouble by just being big and strong and vicious and aggressive and physical. Gave him a lot of trouble. So I think the path to victory for Tyson Fury is going to be being physical, using that size. So I'm curious to see if he's maintained his strength, even though he's much leaner now. So yeah, he's going to be in great shape, but he needs to be strong. And I think that's really important going into this fight. And we're going to see that early on, those early rounds. We're going to see how strong Tyson is, and we're going to see how it compares to Usyk's strength.
Paulie, is the winner of this fight to you the premier heavyweight of this era? However you decide to define it, you think it's decided this weekend? It's
I think if it's Fury,
settled this weekend.
I think if it's Fury, you got to make Fury and Joshua, and maybe there's no premier heavyweight, because then what happens if Fury beats Joshua? Then okay, you got Fury as the premier heavyweight. But if Joshua beats Fury, then you've got a guy who got beat twice by Usyk. It gets a little bit scrambled.
Boxing math gets crazy.
It gets a little bit scrambled. But if Fury wins, you certainly would want to see the Joshua fight. If Usyk wins, he's the premier heavyweight of this era, and he's
best cruiserweight of all time.
And the best cruiserweight of all time. It's which I know is blasphemy to a lot of old schoolers with Holyfield, who was also an amazing cruiserweight. You know, it's take your pick there. I think Usyk is possibly the best cruiserweight ever. But
well, if he wins undisputed heavyweight championship, undefeated, and a gold medal.
But you know, you got the argument for Holyfield. I'll argue it right here. Holyfield was a 15-round fighter too, so it's like we can go back and forth on that. But that's not the argument right now. We're trying to keep it just at heavyweight. Otherwise, we're gonna last an hour.
Anybody,
but nonetheless, yeah, if Usyk wins, he's the best heavyweight of this era for sure.
Do we get clarity after Saturday, Chris? Last question for you, man.
With the way boxing goes, the way heavyweight divisions have been, and the way Tyson Fury is, no. I don't think so. I don't think so.
So cold water on this weekend of draw come Saturday. Is that what you're thinking?
No, I'm not saying even a draw, but like to the champ's point, if Fury wins this fight, we're going to have to see the Joshua fight.
Dude,
so
really,
it leaves the door open.
It's really cut down the line, though. Like, Usyk could win.
No, this is as close to a 50-50 competitive fight.
I think because of the Ngannou performance, there's a lot of unsure stuff about Fury. Nobody really knows who's going to win this fight, guys. I mean, it's like nobody really can say, this guy's going to. You guys are gambling. I got my friends that gamble who want to hit me up. Like, they go both ways, man.
I have prefaced everything I've said about this fight if Usyk wins that, if Fury wins that. Because it's that close.
And how they win as well.
Luckily, we're here to answer all of those questions post-fight. Join us on YouTube. ProBox TV will be here post-fight to break down all of these questions and answers as we always do. Join us next time on Deep Waters. Thank you so much again.